We are now setting the stage up for our next panel discussion, Retail Rendezvous, navigating a futuristic roadmap to the dynamic landscape of retail. How do we create a vision for tomorrow, changing retail trends in India? How can we forecast the future of stores and building stronger retail customer relationship? May I request all of you to please put your hands together as I welcome our moderator, Ms. Swati Mohindra, Senior Director, Strategic Consultant, Cushman & Wakefield, joining us here on stage. Let's hear it up for her as she joins us with that very graceful smile. May I also present to you our power-packed panelists up here. We have with us Mr. Amitabh Suri, CEO, USPA, Arvind Fashions Limited. Please put your hands together as I welcome Meryl Pereira, MD, Pizza Hut at Yum Brands, India Subcontinent. May I also welcome Mr. Vineet Gautam, CEO, Bestseller India. Let's hear it up for Mr. Rajesh Jain, CEO and MD, Lacoste India. May I also present to you Mr. Kumar Nitesh, CEO, Agio Business, Reliance Footprint, Trend Footwear, Payless, Lee Cooper, Catwall joining us here on stage. And as we look forward to this very, very exciting session here, may I request my audience to please take a seat. My kind audience, may I request you all to please settle down?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for all of you being here, and thank you in advance for the exciting conversation which we're hoping to have to the panelists. We are here to discuss. The topic is navigating a futuristic roadmap to the dynamic landscape of retail. So, I think all of you are aware of the numbers. The industry is growing by 10%. Today, it's at a number of maybe 850 billion USD and expected to grow to about 3 trillion USD in the next few years. We did see a blip in 2021, but the bounce back was great. And that growth is expected to continue. A large part of that growth is driven by Tier 2, Tier 3. The organized retail is spreading there. The retailers are expanding there. However, I think in the last few years, the market has witnessed a certain level of transformation. So what's largely happened is that consumers have changed the way that they're engaging with brands. A large part of it can be attributed to various factors such as expansion of e-commerce, social media. All of us are really, I think we just have to look around and see the number of people who are on social media, Instagram, YouTube, and so on and so forth today. As a generation, and I think we've adapted to it very fast, Digital payments is on the rise. And I think one of the largest factors is the rise of the Gen Z and the millennials. We are at a median age where the median age of the economy is about 28 years. And of course, I think one of the major factors is the use of technology and AI, which I think a lot of retailers are adopting so that they can engage better with the brands. So keeping this context in mind, I will just kind of, float a few questions here. Meryl, my first question is to you. See, there's been a massive shift in consumer habits of F&B. People have there's a trend towards, wellness, health, and it's a growing trend which is there, especially I think earlier it was mostly in a certain age bracket, and now it's kind of, more widespread. So what is the strategy with, QSR brands like yourselves are adopting to kind of, be more relevant to your target consumer?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So a lot has changed for a lot of people after COVID. Before COVID, we had a huge dine-in business, which has now shifted where the major part of our business is now delivery. The aggregators, as you know, have grown tremendously in India, and post-COVID, it's even gone bigger out there. So for us, the couple of learnings that we've had over the last couple of years is we need to be digital. We've done a fair bit of investments in our digital platforms, whether it's online with our own app, our mobile ordering, your QR code ordering, all that stuff that's happened. We've had to make sure we really accelerated that really, really quick.
Right.
So that was one of the first things that we had to do. The other thing is we found is that the Gen Z and the millenniums are really, really changing their requirements and their tastes quite frequently. So you've got to be able to really move really quickly with whatever you want to do. We've just launched in Pizza Hut something called Melts, which is a handheld product. And it was in about 60 countries before it came to India, and it's doing really, really well. And we just found that they're looking for innovation, they're looking for new things. I don't have the exact numbers for the internet penetration in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, but I know it's one of the highest in the world in India. And so over the last 2 years, we've had to penetrate a lot into the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Currently, Pizza Hut, we've got over 800 restaurants, and we are in 200 cities. So a lot of that stuff has happened, and a lot of stuff has changed. And so we just got to we've got to keep going with the change. For us, the future is we will still have to keep changing quickly. I think we still have to use a lot to do with data. So use a lot of the data for us to make our future decisions. And the big word right now is AI. So trying to figure out how we use AI to come into helping us determine what we should be doing. And it's everything, right? From our real estate to our menus to our customer flows and everything else. So that was it.
So, as you actually go across geographies, there would be a difference in the tastes and the preferences. For example, what works in the south may not work in north. So, what is it that you are doing to kind of, adapt to that?
Okay, so I can't hear about the north and south, right? Regional, okay. So, yeah, it's okay. I got the question, so I'll answer it. So what we've had to do is localize. So we've been able to go into different cities, and while we'll have core products, we've also had to have the majority of our products to that city. And the same thing with menu boards, the language, everything else. We've had to change it city by city.
Yeah.
So for us, that's one of the learnings we've had. And today with digital, our menu boards are digital, the app is digital. So we've been able to do that quicker. But to your point, we've had to make sure that not what sells in Mumbai or Delhi is going to sell in a remote town. So we've had to change that. Also change pricing.
Interesting. No, that's an interesting insight. My next question is to you, Amitabh. And taking on from what Meryl said. So technology is a game changer today, and retailers are embracing AI and data analytics to enhance the consumer experience at various touch points. So whether it is online, when you come into the store, and the whole I think the whole intent is to make shopping more interactive, more experiential. So what is it that you are doing, and how do you see that the integration of tech and AI, how will that happen into store design so that the entire shopping experience becomes more interactive and experiential?
Thank you for that. I'll just start by differentiating out here the consumer journey when he or she shops in an offline store vis-a-vis when they shop in an online environment. My understanding is in the offline segment, they're looking for a lot more storytelling in the store. There's an experience which they come for. All the shoppers who walk into an offline store and they consume product, they are not just for the product, but they're for the entire experience of the brand offers.
Yes.
Vis-a-vis when they're online, they're looking for something new, differentiated, which they could have for bragging rights. So you've got to understand that journey carefully and then alter your product mixes and your product strategy for that. So to give you an example, in the online world, we are trying to constantly create capsules, which could be engaging with the consumer. They could be more on trend, on what's happening around them. It is largely a product-led story, which kind of attracts people to shop when they click onto it. We launched our own .com, our own website, a D2C to the market last August. And what we were not surprised, but we saw a lot of traction coming in because they were intent to understand more what the brand offers. So I would call them brand lovers to a large extent. and they came with a definite purpose. Their engagement levels are more not only with the product, but how and why is it here and how is it relevant. Very importantly, how do I wear this with that and how can I mix and match my ensembles. Now, I also run the offline business where we see, I've got a large bunch of buying and planning colleagues who are constantly data mining and working on analytics to see what the trends are, what is the product composition a Punjab needs from, let's say, a Bangalore, which categories work better. Down south, it's always going to be shirts and trousers. Up north is going to be largely jeans and polos and t-shirts. So there's a mix which changes. Technology is helping us see this real time. So our reactions are much faster than they were before because we were slothish in the past decade where we were working on what we thought consumers need. It was more of a designer's perspective versus now it's more about category and what's moving where. And we're going to put our monies where the mouth is. So it's like, that's where I want to be. When I look at the online side, it's a lot more engagement. So we've got to keep on driving engagement with the consumer, be relevant, throw them relevant things about the brand custodians, the brand ambassadors. A lot of their lifestyle comes on board. We have a brand ambassador, Arjun Rampal. A recent shoot of his on a India Today edition got so much traction onto the website where people are looking for what the resort style he was wearing. It was a simple product, but we had done the curation at the back end. So when you walked into or when you browsed through the USPA website, you saw an overload of linens and the resort lifestyle. So there was a trigger point which we could have driven very easily on the online side of it. For creating that same experience offline would be a different ask. So to me, technology is to be used in where you are and not keep on trying things. I'm not the biggest fan of trying every possible technology to serve the consumer, but it's just to ease the gap between us and the consumer. So I hope that answers.
So, for your brand, do you see this trend of, what people scouting around online and actually shopping in physical stores? Or do you see that, online is kind of, online sales are catching up to physical sales or something, So because this is a question which it's a perennial question. Will online ever, overtake brick and mortar?
So Swati, for me, it's all about the consumer journey. The same consumer, when he goes to a marketplace, has a different journey, a different experience, and a different buying habit. The same consumer, when he goes to a D2C site, has a different expectation, different requirements. So I also sell a lot of merchandise on the popular marketplaces. That's largely discount driven. When you come down to slightly more intimate relationship with the consumer, it goes to a D2C website. And offline to me is still where is the retail theater. I mean, that's where we are at our best. So till we are able to create that theater on online, I think offline is always going to have an advantage.
Yeah, interesting. My next question is to you, Rajesh. So the Indian consumer, and particularly the Gen Z, are becoming value conscious. I had a discussion with Vineet about it, and he probably had a different take on it. He'll come back to it tonight. So, the Gen Z is becoming value conscious and less brand loyal. Brand loyalty is not as what it used to be. And I think somewhere they are prioritizing convenience, sustainability, ethical sourcing. So these things are becoming very important to them. So, given that you are a very, very, as a brand, you've been around for a long time, and there's a significant strength of brand, which you have. So what is it? What are you doing to connect with, with this particular segment?
Sure. Thank you, Swati. Good afternoon, friends. My name is Rajesh Jain. I work for a brand called Lacoste. So, Swati, to answer your question, I think I'm not surprised. I understand that the general perception is that Lacoste as a brand is mainly for those people who have sort of arrived in life, who have reached certain stage, and they prefer Lacoste as a brand. But I would like to actually clarify that we have a very strong connect with Gen Z and millennials.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the reason why I say that. For example, we have our own website, lacoste.in. And when we analyzed the data from there, we were very happy to realize that a large percentage of customers who visit and buy from our website, they come from the age group from 18 to 33 years of age. So that connect, I believe, is coming predominantly because of the timeless products that we offer. To give you an example, our polo that can seamlessly and effortlessly transition from a professional attire. If you wear a polo with a, let's say, a blazer, it looks very professional, and it can seamlessly transition to a college environment when you wear the same polo with a denim or with a normal trouser.
Right.
So that kind of a connect that Gen Z and millennial is able to have, because they can have a relaxed elegance and a freedom of movement and have a very seamless transition. Other categories which are resonating extremely well with the Gen Z millennial customers are two categories which are growing very fast in India as well as globally are footwear and leather goods. Our sneakers are really liked by Gen Z, and these two categories are those categories which are not dependent upon what kind of attire you are wearing. You can have different kind of outfits in different days of the week, and you can still carry the same sneaker. You can still carry the same kind of bag if it's, let's say, a female bag. You can wear a sari, you can wear a suit also, you can wear a western dress also, and you can carry the same bag with you. And that resonates very well with the Gen Z and the millennial customer. In fact, taking cue from this, large part of our collection now is also designed in such a way that can attract the Gen Z and millennial customers.
Right.
I'll give you a few more examples here that how we connect with Gen Z and millennial customers. Our collabs are also designed, if we see the last couple of years collabs that we had with different kind of collaborations, one was with Minecraft, the next was with Netflix, and they resonate very well again with the Gen Z. And our marketing efforts are also mostly digital platform where Gen Z is able to connect very well.
Yeah.
Now, this is about the products part. Now, if we look at what Gen Z and millennials predominantly look for. So unlike the past, the current generation, they're looking at shopping not as shopping, but more as a leisure activity. Now that leisure, that also automatically translates into convenience.
Right.
That convenience could be online and offline. I don't think that tech is the only thing that Gen Z and millennial are looking. They're looking for convenience. They're looking for leisure activity.
Right. Yeah.
So because of that, what we are doing is, we are upgrading our own website so that Gen Z also again comes again and again. Similarly, we are there on the premium third-party marketplaces where Gen Z also visits and they see our product. In offline also, what we are doing is we are upgrading all our boutiques. We are making bigger and better boutiques. We've also brought the latest interior fit out of Lacoste globally, which is called La Club concept. And that attracts a lot of footfall from Gen Z and millennials also. Third part, which you had just mentioned, Gen Z and millennials perhaps are more conscious towards the environment,
Yeah.
towards sustainability.
Correct.
So we make a lot of recycled fabric. We use recycled organic cotton and those kind of things, which are very sustainable, which have lesser carbon footprint as compared to the normal garments that fashion industry makes. Although the percentage of those customers or those Gen Z and millennial customers who are very conscious about social responsibility and environment is relatively low right now, but it's catching up very fast, and this is a trend that is being set up by the Gen Z and millennial also. So because of all this entire package put together, I have just mentioned a few of the important ones,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of other things also which come as a package, and that really attracts Gen Z and millennials also to a brand like ours also, and we're very happy that we have a very strong connect with them now.
That's very interesting. I mean, the fact that, you've adapted so well to attract to this and it's a very different, TG than what you've had traditionally. So commendable. Um, so Vineet, my next question will be to you. It has two parts. So, one is that, your brands, we've seen a significant growth in the way that your brands, Vero Moda, Only, Jack and Jones, that it's evolved. And we were just talking about it. I think, what you've done this year with the collection has been great. So what's your sense on what we said about Indian consumers being more value conscious? That's one. And the second part is that, the growth that your brand has seen over the last couple of years, um, what has been the role of omni-channel and digital marketing to, in the expansion to where it is today?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Two parts to it. I think, yes, first, thank you also for acknowledging that we've done some good work on the product. I think we've really done a lot of work
Yes.
in the last few seasons on changing what the perception about the brand is, because we've spent 15 years in the country, so the brands were looked in a way, and I think being a fast fashion brand, we had to move on, and I think that's
Yeah.
what we've done a lot more in the last few months. And actually, if you go down to the stores, whether it's Jack and Jones or Vero Moda or Only, you will see a very different product line now than what you used to see a few seasons back. And I'll come back to the same thing, and you asked about Gen Z and millennials, and I think that is what is the most important. How relevant are you to them? It
Yeah.
is just not about which brand, what are you doing, what do you want to stand for. If you are relevant to me, I'm your customer. Then you also have brand loyalty, also in Gen Z, and which is a big perception that they're not brand loyal.
Yes, we
First,
were
they are
talking
brand
about that.
conscious, for sure. But
Yeah.
they are also brand loyal till the time you are able to deliver what they expect out of you as a brand. So standing up for that is very important. And I think consistency in that is very, very important from that perspective. And I think if you look at our brands, Jack and Jones, Vero Moda Only, we've spent 15 years in the country. We retail at 130 cities now.
Yeah.
And I think for an international brand to get this distribution in 15 years has not been. It's about understanding, staying true to what your promise is. Are you relevant for it? And I think the relevance in fashion is every day. So you
Yeah.
cannot say, okay, I was relevant last season, so I'll be relevant this. Then there's no loyalty. Then they're going to go over to the next brand where they find relevance. The other thing I think is they're not value conscious. I'll put this again. They're value for money conscious. And I think that's a big difference we forget. We try to take value consciousness and value for money in the same line. And I think that's the differentiator that people have to bring. Like his price point is very different, and he's still talking about Gen Z and millennials, right?
Exactly.
So it's value for money. Some value they're finding, right?
Yeah.
Now at what scale, that's a different discussion. But there is value for money. So at every price point, there is value for money. If you're able to deliver the Gen Z, millennium, you'll not find better customers than them, because they spend far more than other generations because they don't believe in savings, right? So they are they're earning to spend, which is good news for retailers and mall guys sitting here, because that means more revenue, more turnover, more revenue share, and X, Y, Z. So I think that's the basic crunch. And then I think the other thing that people need to understand is the consumer journey. How are you treating them at every aspect? And I'll come to the omni-channel at the last, because I think all businesses have to think omni-channel. It's no more about, I think I differ
It's
with
no more an
what
option.
Amitabh said. I don't think there's a separate journey in retail stores and there's a
Yeah.
separate journey in online. It is an integrated journey. I understand what he means by that, because the way you show a product XYZ is different, but the journey needs to be same. It needs to be seamless. I can leave you here, and can I pick it up back from somewhere else? That's happening. Like you asked, I think, to Amitabh, are you seeing people seeing online, buying retail?
Yeah.
I think a few seasons back, we were talking, are they seeing in retail and buying online? Suddenly, we are asking this different question in 2 seasons actually, that are they seeing online and buying? Yes, they are seeing online and buying in retail. And that's why retail has suddenly become the most preferred choice. All D2C brands are in a hurry to open retail stores, because the brand loyalty and the brand association is only happening when you're experiencing that. Because the journey in online is, while you can manage it on the website, post-purchase is a big challenge, because it's fragmented to multiple players handling that journey. And hence, all loyalty and acquisition is going to now be derived a large more from brick and mortar. And I think that's where we need to all look at one journey and then integrate that journey at different aspects of it. Like for us, our business, especially for our D2C brand, you can select there and you can buy at the store.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You
Correct.
can see at the store, reserve, and you can buy it online, right? So we call it My Wallet or something it's like that called, and you can actually do the whole journey yourself. You can actually do it on WhatsApp also. You don't even need to go to website. You can shop on WhatsApp,
Wow.
completely curated to what you have shopped earlier. It's difficult for a new consumer because then it's us pushing them what they think, depending on what cohorts they come to. But for an existing customer, it's far easier to do the journey seamlessly. And that is where this will move. And I think, I know a lot of people are not thinking this, but we are a very large business in China, and we believe what happened with WeChat is going to happen with WhatsApp. Now, when will that happen? We don't know. But it's going to happen someday. Because everyone has WhatsApp, right, today. So I think that
Yeah.
entire commerce will have to be thought from not from just an app perspective, but from convenience, and that convenience is going to be WhatsApp. Because it's a default messaging system, and you spend far more time on WhatsApp and Instagram. And I think Instagram will also catch it up because they are finally owned by the same company.
Yes.
So that seamless journey is something you have to think 2-3 years of time, and then ensure that it's matching to your retail journey. And I think that's the future of omni-channel. But I think it's too overrated. I think, and I jokingly said, every conference we need one agenda. These days, omni-channel is that agenda, and next is AI and all that. But I think it's still very small. Brick and mortar is what businesses where consumers are going, and they are going to experience retail there.
So yeah, brick and mortar is to stay, is here to stay. And I think what one very important takeaway that I'm taking from here is that, somewhere the human interaction actually adds up. So, so there's a lot of tech and AI which we're talking, but maybe I think it's better used in the back end. But you can't really do away with the human interaction. And,
See, especially in a country like India, we're very emotional. We want that connect. We like that, right?
Yes.
If you're not acknowledged in a store, you feel lost,
Yeah.
right? And I think that is not going to go away. And it's going to remain. And as you go down the tier 2,
Yeah.
tier 3, more acknowledgement is required, right?
Correct.
Maybe the metros are changing, but the tier 2, tier 3 is requiring more attention from you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And and now that we're moving into the tier 2 towns, Nitesh, my question to you, Reliance today has the largest network across its brand, especially in the tier 2, tier 3. I mean, if one is to stay, you have really understood the pulse of Bharat, right? So what has your experience been? And, this is one thing, I mean, it's also coming from the fact that I have to, answer this question. I'm probably making my job easier. The people ask me that, how does one deal with this diversity in the Indian preferences? Each state is different. Each state is different. Within states, there's a variety of dialects, there's a variety of, preferences, the colors which work in, colors and styles which work in one particular region don't really work in the other. So, what has your learning been in dealing with such large geographies?
So thanks for the question. Yeah, you are right that in India, every nine miles, the water
Yes.
changes.
Yeah.
We say the language and water changes in India every 9 to 20 miles. And 70%, 80% India is in 2-tier, 3-tier city, where consumption is very well available these days also. So yes, we are present in the unorganized market, where we have opened a store, and we were the first organized retailer in a lot of markets. We have done our studies, and since we were the first in those markets, we had a lot of learning. If I take example of footwear, where
Yeah.
I do more, you go to Chennai, the red color will not sell, the ballerina. You go to Punjab, it sells more. You go to marriage season, the Andhra sells black shoe, and the Bihar sells brown shoe,
Yeah.
right? Even in the way we advertise, we try to reach to the consumer is very different. You open an AC showroom with a closed glass door in Bihar, people will not enter the store thinking that products are expensive there.
Yes, the
You
perception.
have to keep the front open with the air curtain and all. And you have to be invited. So they will feel that, okay, store is not glass door. So is psyche of the consumer is very different in India in every corner.
Yeah.
India is the only country where aloo tikki burger McDonald has to launch, right? And
Yeah.
aloo tikki burger used to contribute 20-22% some time back. I don't know now. Uh, the pricing also works very well. The what prices goes to Delhi doesn't go to again Patna, again go to Jamshedpur, or you go to Indore. It's different kind of pricing strategy you have to keep
Yeah.
for sure. The product basically, I will say the main role is the product. As I said, the color. Even when you do your supply chains, uh, when you make a sorted box of one article, suppose 12 pair I'm supplying. When I'm supplying to Punjab and Andhra, the size 9 and 10 is higher in that box. When I'm supplying to Northeast, the size 6 and 7 is higher. So it's very basics to be honest. But we have to take care of these basic. A lot of international organizations, if they doesn't understand that Kerala need 12-month half
Yeah.
shirts,
Yeah.
you can't really sell actually autumn winter sweatshirt in even winter, right? So these are the small things which, being an Indian, I feel we know we have worked
Yeah.
in the India all corner. So these are very basics we understand and we do what we are supposed to do for the end consumer.
Yes. And I think the understanding is quite deep, which is how you kind of managed this diverse or this
Yes,
huge
and we
network.
try to give a lot of power to the regional teams. The regional team has a power to pick up the what they want for their stores. It's not centralized. We push everything. So we feel the Bihar team
Yeah.
knows what is will sell in Bihar. Andhra team
Right.
knows what it will sell. So we have a lot of regional product merchandising marketing team in the region. They decide what they want to do.
Right, right. No, this is very interesting, and I think I've been told
Time's
the
up.
time's up. But yes, thank you very much. I think I'll just take away, just kind of, summarize the whole thing in maybe 2 or 3 takeaways. I think one thing is that, yes, there are, I mean, the market is changing. I wouldn't call it an uncertain market. I would call it a market which is transforming, right? And I think, what retailers today are doing is adapting very fast. I think, um, connecting with your target consumer. There is a lot of time which is being saved by using, the data analytics, AI tools, all of that. Omnichannel and digital marketing actually using to supplement the consumer connect. And I think at the end of it, I think one we can really say that, there's brick and mortar is here to stay. We are still looking at expansion and happy days for us, I think, ahead. Yeah. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.